and welcome to A World of Deception. I'm Christy, and this is Montecito After Sunset. Today, we are breaking down episode 4 of this gripping audio soap opera, and I have joining me today, supervising sound editor of Montecito, Trey Booty. Hey, Trey.
Hi. Good to see you guys.
You too. Thank you so much for joining us. Myself and creator and executive producer, Grant Rudder. Hey, Grant.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I know you two have spent lots of time talking Montecito already and working closely together to get this show on the road. And we have got episode 4 landing this week, causing a lot of chatter, a lot of buzz online. And I cannot wait to break down some of these behind the scenes moments with you guys. Of course, this episode opens with a new voice, which is really exciting. So we finally meet Bradley Belasco. And this is very interesting to me. I got so excited. Somebody new to tell us a little bit more about the characters and what's going on here. It's like we need someone like Bradley to help tell the story of Montecito. But to what extent is someone like a character like Bradley going to have their own story as well?
Bradley's a very complicated character, as we'll find out. We're introduced to him on this kind of professional level. He's the chairman of the board and he's all business, but there's a lot of layers to Bradley. He is Deacon's father, Helena's husband, and we'll also see him as a father-in-law to Mina. Mina's always busy, so she's got everyone where she wants them, and she has her own plans for Bradley and where that she fits into the world and how he can help her.
And we really get some moments of vulnerability from Helena here too, which was also exciting. A new dynamic to Helena with the break-in that she had at her house. And we also learn about her past health issues. It seems like she's dealing with a little bit of mom guilt too, which I think is probably super relatable to some of the listeners. Is she going to be our voice of reason here in Montecito? Because it's starting to feel like we really need that. Sort of like an Eileen Davidson on Real Housewives of Beverly
Oh,
Hills.
good call.
Remember, all the soap fans love Eileen. Is Helena going to be our Eileen Davidson?
Yes, in a way. No one's perfect in this world, but one could say she's an overbearing mother, maybe too involved. So like they all have their faults. But yes, when it comes to Mina, she's had Mina in her life for such a long time. She knows exactly who she is and how she operates. And obviously she hates it, but her eyes are wide open. And so she's always navigating her relationship with Mina and with Deacon and trying to assist Deacon. And I don't think she ever really let Deacon grow up in that sense where she was able to let go because she knows that he's in this horrible position. But we'll find more out about her. She was sick for a while. The mom guilt is real. But I think she's really ultimately, the way we wrote her is she's just trying to be a supportive parent.
She also seems like the kind of lady who would have a beautifully decorated home and a bright manicured garden. And you guys certainly really set the scene at her house where we're in the garden with them. Trey, I'm really curious, how do you approach something like that? How do you essentially set the scene? Are you visualizing it yourself? Is there a thought process there?
Sure. It starts with a conversation with Grant because he kind of gives me the North Star of where to go and paints the picture of what he thinks the garden's gonna be like, the enormity of the house, of the mansion, of the space to really sell like the grandeur. So I'm looking for like I almost pull some park sounds, some bees buzzing around, anything that would kind of be in this secluded area. I went to a little spot in Lincoln Park where I grabbed just some audio in the middle of the day where there wasn't too many people around, just to grab some extra kind of like summery, springy sounds to layer in under there. We talked about the water features that repeat because of course, like these people would have statuettes and they would have multiple water features in different places to really create an atmosphere and a vibe, right?
Yeah, for outdoor spaces,
Really cool.
I wanted Helena to have wind chimes because we're in Helena's garden a lot. And there's a certain meditative quality and a grounding and a natural essence to its wind chimes. And then for the Roman estate and their mansion, I would like to have water sounds. Like you'll hear a fountain, you'll hear the pool. There's a lot of water there. So they each kind of have like their own unique atmosphere where hopefully we could train the listener. It'll be a little bit easier for them to have that kind of identity. So it's like the way shows have sets, we have these kind of preset sounds for these locations that we recur. So that way, there's a little bit of an echo. We're in the Roman staircase entry lane.
Yes. Yeah. The other repeating one that's a little more subtle is there's the really faint in the background. You hear like a grandfather clock in the study,
Yeah, that's coming up.
always repeating.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in this episode, we had to play around with offices. We were at this Regalton Worldwide conference room. Give me some ideas if you have any when it comes to how to make that sound interesting. So we have a lot of entrances and exits. So I wanted to have the sliding door, just like
Yes.
thinking like executive style. And I just thought that was just something unique to the space that we could give it as a special treatment.
Well, you're
Oh,
seeing
sure.
how episode 4 really climaxes with this JJ stumbling into the boardroom meeting in the conference room. And that really, like you said, is a quiet, boring place. So,
Hmm.
how do you, when you're not outside and you can't go and grab the bees buzzing around, how do you liven up a conference room?
That is a very good
Challenge
question.
extended, right,
Yeah.
Trey?
Yeah. Challenge extended. For things like that, I do feel like in those moments, there is so much story being pushed in the dialogue that I don't necessarily want to take too much away. But Bradley is talking to Bethany Gina, and I, in my head, am like, he seems like a very casual guy, right? The kind that would lean back in the office chair. And so I think, okay, well, maybe underneath very subtle, under choice lines where he might have been leaning back to just put a little chair roll sound, or even grab a quick snippet of I've got one behind me that kind of has a little squeak to it. Just record the little squeak going and try and create a little bit of that vision you could pick up on. So you try to color it with the movements, the chair going or the arms on the desk or things like that.
And we let the music do a lot of the world building too. We have Mina's theme. We have other kind of they had the exchange where Bradley says, "Have you guys met?" And they both say at the same time, "We've met," Bethany, Gina, and Mina. So we have some little percolating music under there. So it assists. We've gone a little heavier with music in places where we didn't really have so much atmosphere. And then sometimes we've had to pull back the atmosphere too. There's a beach scene coming up in the show, and I really struggled with that one, but Trey figured it out, thank God.
Well, that's kind of part of what I'm trying to wrap my head around is how this all comes together. And in addition to all these little sounds and the music, we've had some big things that are like the taser and the fire alarm that are
Hmm.
really meant to tell the story. And those are super important. How do you guys work together to make it all come together to this awesome episode that we end up hearing?
Well, Grant and I have been working together for so long. I actually got started in this whole space working with Grant. So we've developed somewhat of a shorthand with each other. Some of it, so when I'm putting it together, there are specific cues in the script, big moments like the taser going off is going to be in there, ocean waves for a beach scene might be there. When I'm putting it together, I make sure I grab a rough idea of what that can be. And then as I go along listening to the dialogue, I think, where else? What are some other things that might be in here? Are they talking, standing still? Are they walking and talking? And that's something that comes out specifically in a couple scenes where, you know, Mina's talking to JJ, and in one cut, it was more like they were standing still, static, but it felt kind of like it needed some more forward motion. But we didn't necessarily want to do it with the music because there was already music going. So we just add some scene changes, footsteps, and maybe they're transitioning from going inside of the restaurant out into the balcony or something like that. And I'll do a rough pass of a basic sketch, and then I'll send that over to Grant, and then he'll add his flavors to it, or we'll hop on the phone. And he's like, "Oh, this is pretty cool, but I was thinking it would be more like maybe more muffled, or maybe the music should sound more like it's a live band
Yeah.
in the other room instead of in front of them." Little things like that.
Yeah, as creating these spaces, right? This is a big thing all through episode 1. Trey really did a great job with those scenes and creating that space, especially when JJ was chasing after Mina right before the fire alarm pull and all that. That was not last minute, but it was later in post that the episode had a little bit more time to play with. And I was like, hey, let's see what we can do. I mean, the dialogue it's captured here, but
Yeah.
we can play with the environment. And Trey did a great job.
We actually ended up stretching that sequence out so that we could have more breathing room, so you could really draw out the transition from the kitchen into the main space, into the balcony, and hearing different crowds of people from different perspectives. So there's a little conversation going that you can almost hear exactly what they're saying, where it's like she's passing right in front of them, but also having murmurs in the background. I would even layer in murmurs that would be the crowd from the other room that she's no longer in, but I filter it way down so it's coming through the walls underneath the balcony chitter chatter, and then trying to get her and JJ's dialogue sitting just on top of that. So it just feels alive. It feels a little hectic, a little chaos. So it's all functions as like a big crescendo along with the music.
I can't wait to listen back to the episodes again and listen for all these things.
Yeah, I mean,
now that we know what was all going on behind the scenes.
I'm so grateful to Trey for the time and the care that he put into all these episodes. You know, we've always worked on shows with a quick turnaround, but we've never had to cut back on our quality. And that's why I knew he'd be perfect for this. It was never a question that I would be working with him on this project. I've talked about it for years. I'm just so impressed with the work that he did, and I'm so proud of the product. There's no weak episodes, there's no weak scenes, and we carried it all the way through, I will say.
It
Well,
was
and I cannot-
incredibly fun. Yeah, an incredibly fun project, and Grant and Andrew did a killer job writing the scripts. It was fun, especially in those second, third, fourth passes, kind of adding all of the sparkles and everything really shining out. So much fun.
And as we look to episode 5, very exciting, Mina is on an absolute rampage. She is getting her way left and right. I'm starting to wonder if anyone will ever be able to stop her. And honestly, I'm getting a little concerned for Gio. Grant, what should we expect?
Next week, there's a lot going on. We pick up right where we left off. We're back in the conference room. Bradley has taken JJ to his office, so we're back with Mina and Bethany Gina. And they're Bethany Gina wants things to change. Mina wants things to remain the same, but also she's asking for something herself. They're not letting go. And then things change, and we're going to be visiting Gio and Deacon on a little date. But of course, it's Montecito, so that's not great for too long. Things are gonna change, and it's gonna get a little crazy towards the end. So we're just going up.
We absolutely cannot wait for another episode to drop on Tuesday. And I know everybody watching and listening out there probably has questions for Grant and Trey themselves. And if you do, please post them in the comments below here if you're watching on YouTube. And of course, Montecito and Montecito After Sunset are available everywhere you get your podcasts. And you can go ahead and check us out on Facebook as well. Leave your questions there. Trey, if people want to, I'm guessing, hire you after hearing about this great, fantastic work you did, or just keep up with you on social media, where can they reach out to you?
I do have an Instagram. It's at Trey Booty. It's my first and last name, TRAEBUDDE. Or they can shoot me an email, treybooty@gmail.com.
We love that. And Grant, how about you?
You can find me at It's Grant's Rants on Instagram. But please interact with us over on the Facebook page, and I'm happy to answer questions there too.
Yes, and make sure to hit that subscribe button or follow on all podcast apps so that you never miss the next dynamic episode of Montecito. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you again for Montecito After Sunset.